All right, welcome back to Statement Games Live. My name is Nathan. I'm joined with Marc, CEO of Statement Games. What's going on, Marc?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Yeah, yeah. And
What
I,
else
I
is
see
going
you.
on?
Is this your first post-COVID haircut?
It might be.
Yeah, yeah. There you
Um,
go. Looking spiffy.
I think I may have gotten. Actually, I guess COVID was still going on when I got my last one. Put it to you this way: this is my first haircut since I've been fully vaccinated. So for me, technically, COVID has been over since I got my get out of jail free card on like the 24th
Hmm.
of May. I'm not sure
Oh,
if
okay.
that's when everybody else officially ended COVID, but as far as I'm concerned, once King Cuomo and the federal government said, "Hey, you know what? I can do whatever I want as soon as I get my shots," I signed off on that permission slip right away, and I'm good to go. So yes, this is
There you
my
go.
first haircut since Marc Saulino's post COVID, if you want to call it that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I got my last haircut. I believe it was just before May 19th, and they had announced that if you were fully vaxxed, you could take off your mask. But it wasn't until like after when I got my haircut. So I went in, I had to wear the mask and everything, and the hairdresser cut my elastic that kept it up on my face. And so I was like, it wouldn't just stay up. So I told her, I was like, well, I'm fully vaxxed. Like I could just put it, put it down, put it in my pocket. And she's like, no, you have to wear it. I was like, okay. So I had to
Well, then
go
fix
through the
it.
whole haircut holding this mask up like this while
They didn't have
she
some type of like glue or tape or something like that to put that thing to.
nothing. And it was one of those like kind of cheap Target masks that just have like
Yeah.
two loops of elastic, which personally I liked because it was very, light and low um impact on my face. And yeah, she cut it right at the joint. So there was no like tying it together,
Nothing to do.
nothing. I was just
Yeah, to
stuck.
hold
And
it.
I walk out with just hair all down my arm. It was, and then like 2 days later, you didn't have to have a mask. So whatever the difference was from when I got the haircut, and then obviously that point, you couldn't get COVID from a haircut, you know. But anyways, so let's talk some updates on Statement Games and what's going on. So, obviously, you're constantly making deals and creating partnerships. So, is there anything new that has come along? Anyone new you're talking to? Are you now duking it out directly with Thrive after the last video?
It's funny. I mean, look, when we do these things, one, we understand that, yeah, we're taking little shots here and there, but it's mostly kind of like good fun. So, yes, in certain particular ways, if I was pursuing almost like a B2C type of environment full force there, yeah, we'd be kind of like competing with Thrive. So I kind of look at Thrive as almost like a frenemy, if you want to call it that here, in certain particular ways. I'm sure we're competing, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I look at them as a potential partner. I look at them as an opportunity in which I can actually take my game, assist them in addressing some of the other core challenges that other fantasy sports networks are kind of like having, just in terms of coming up with different games, being something that's unique and different, that holds the attention of kind of like gamers. And I continue to prove out that Statement Games has the ability to do that. So in fact, I have had some slight past dialogue with their CEO. I mean, it's got to be
Mhm.
over. It's definitely pre-COVID. Now, when I mean slight, I mean from the perspective of we connected on LinkedIn. I sent a an email just with some basic kind of ideas, nothing along the lines of what we're kind of doing today. That email was never kind of responded to, and then obviously through the efforts of you and what you guys are actually doing, it kind of gave me an incentive to reach back out to them.
Yep.
However, I haven't done that yet. So it's on
Gotcha.
my to-do list to kind of like knock out like this week, and we'll go from there. So we're still kind of progressing. We had some kind of great let's call it roadmap or product review calls with our Looks like our first kind of white label client. It looks
Cool.
like we can actually have another one that is signed prior to the close of July. I'll keep everybody posted on that, but I'm not necessarily ready to make any formal announcements as of yet. So there's other business development opportunities that keep kind of getting added to the list, which I'll work with you on and sprucing
Mhm.
up some decks. I don't want to mention kind of any names yet, but look, there's opportunities. That's good. Took my first business trip, hence the reason as to why I got a haircut last week.
Yeah.
So that was I guess that's kind of new. So it was kind of good to get back on the road and have a couple of face to face meetings for the first time in a while. So I guess yeah, that's kind of really what's new. I mean we've completed the project from hell, which is the NBA automation project. But now we're kind of taking all the updates that we have done and have done in the
Mhm.
QA environment and formally uploading it into the B2C consumer facing kind of environment. So
Sure.
I'm hopeful that kind of gets done today or tomorrow or anything like that. So for the most part, anything that's new is we're chasing deals, we're chasing money. So that's
Yep.
what we got kind of going on. That's been the theme of the week so far.
Absolutely. So tell me more about business trip. Like, how did it feel to get back on the road? Was it weird post COVID? Were you, doing this meeting with masks on, or were you guys fully just um did it feel like normal?
Nah, no masks. So last Thursday, I was in
Mhm.
Philadelphia. I had meetings with a couple of existing investors, just bringing them up to speed on kind of what we're actually doing. Um, the investors actually they have an office. So on Thursday of last week, and you and I had talked about this offline. I was going through a series of investor pitches through the HYPE
Mhm.
program,
Yep.
and then Thursday was my last pitch in one of the sessions that had set up for them. So,
Yeah.
as part of the trip in Philadelphia, the existing investors just wanted to hear an updated version of the story as if I was pitching it to a new investor. And I said, hey, you know what? What better way than to just, you know, be a fly in the room and watch me do my thing while I kind of do the hype
Mhm.
presentation, investor pitch, which I kind of did this past Thursday. So
Nice.
from Philadelphia on Thursday, Friday morning, I drove down to Washington D.C. Our investor, as well as our main kind of development partner, Intellect Faces, led by Kishore Coaching and his team, are down in the Washington kind of D.C. area. So I had an opportunity to um, meet up with them, basically kind of review some of these pilot projects that we have coming kind of on board with some of our first initial clients. So I want to get on the same page with him on what priorities of the organization was, what the projects were kind of all about. I wanted to make sure that the pricing that I was actually giving to our new clients was in line with him. Of course, you don't want to be caught in a position where your cost is more than what you're taking in. So
Mhm.
you know, align kind of with him, kind of define what our next two or three projects were actually going to be from a StatementGames perspective. We agreed that we probably have a good opportunity to start all three of those projects simultaneously and go from there. So there's a lot kind of on the development plate. And then while I was in the Washington D.C. area, I had a great meeting with, let's just say, um, a sports team, a professional sports team in Washington D.C. So still kind of
Wow.
early stages. Doesn't necessarily make any sense to make any type of or to tilt my kind of hand, so to speak, right now. I mean, why jeopardize anything? But to answer your question here, no, nothing that I've actually done required a mask, and everything was as if nothing happened in the past year and a half.
Mhm.
It felt,
Wow.
do I dare say the word normal?
Wow, that's amazing. So you've mentioned this multiple times of talking to different sports teams, and I assume being in the Washington area that you might have met with them in person. Now, when you go from like, your day to day meeting with people, clients through, teleconnecting and all that kind of stuff. But like, did you get to go into the office of the sports team? Like, really kind of, sit where they're making these decisions, and what's that like? Do you kind of fan out a little bit? Do you kind of take in the moment and say like, holy cow, like I'm selling to, a team that I watch on TV?
But I guess there's kind of two parts. So my development company, obviously, COVID kind of happened. So a lot of the members of their team, from a business development and from a development perspective, were just working kind of like remotely. So
Mhm.
as it turned out, he had made this decision last year that for the time being, it didn't make sense for him to kind of like renew a office lease. So for that meeting,
Okay,
we actually met in the lobby of the hotel I was staying at, like on Friday. But for
gotcha.
the sports team, we actually met in the press box of where it was an off day, so there was nothing kind of like
Yeah.
going on. But we met in the press box, in the stadium or
Oh
arena,
wow.
of where things were kind of like taking place. And yeah, it was. I mean, I guess it was spread out, but it wasn't anything like, all right, get the tape measure out and let's make sure that everybody is
Yeah,
six
yeah.
feet, 6 feet apart.
That's interesting. That's an interesting backdrop to a
Yeah, it
meeting.
was. It was a pretty cool backdrop. I mean, let's just say you were aware of where you
Yeah.
were at and who you were speaking with, uh, in that type of environment.
That's pretty awesome. So you kind of talked about how you had the kind of final meeting with the hype program during this business trip. What's the news with hype? Where is that taking you guys? Is there any new announcements you want to make, or just interesting facts you want to share?
Yeah, sure. So I'll give kind of like the full kind of rundown or something like that. Hey, last week was mostly kind of like investor pitches and things like that. So there's still kind of like ongoing sessions with hype. The sessions will go ahead and continue. They're more of kind of like everybody who is in the certain vertical kind of gets together with one of the lead mentors, and you just review opportunities, deals, challenges that you're currently having, what's working, what's not kind of working, what partners are friendlier than others. So
Sure.
that's going on. The investor things kind of took place last week. So in that meeting that we actually had this morning, um, I should be getting some type of notification either tonight or tomorrow with a list of potential investors, if any, that want to have one-on-one sessions with Statement Games.
Okay.
So I haven't had any direct feedback on that front last week, but as we're recording, this is Wednesday. My final pitch was Thursday of last week, so it was still like less than a week ago, and I had
Hmm.
three of them.
Okay.
One of them was specific to media broadcasters. Another one was specific to teams, clubs, federations, and another one was specific to investors in the sports betting vertical. So I'm
Gotcha.
still kind of like in wait and see mode with
Hmm.
what, if anything, is going to kind of come out of that. But in terms of like the partners, had a little brief call with VRT this morning. They're kind of like they're in a busy season. No decisions has actually been made yet. They apologize for the delay. They're trying to kind of track down a department head that would give a decision one way or another on how, if anything, they're going to pursue with VRT.
Yeah.
PGA Tour was a pass for now, so
Hmm.
I'll look to re-engage with them in 2022. ESL was a pass, so we're not moving forward with ESL. ESL was obviously esports, so not that
Hmm.
disappointed with it. It was a bit of a long shot for us, anyway. We have a lot of on our plate from a sports perspective between football, hockey, baseball, basketball, UFC, golf, and now with these new partners that we're bringing on board, potentially cricket and
Mm.
Premiership League, soccer, or European football, if you want to define it as that. So not that big of a disappointment with ESL, although a little strange things because we can touch upon that with later. DAZN is pretty much still a viable conversation that's looking to be had. Had a great conversation with my content last week. They just brought on a new co-CEO, so he can't
Okay.
move forward with any type of decisions until he receives feedback and insights from that new CEO. Just the nature of the beast. Some
Mhm.
of these things are slow. 888 Sport, again, kind of like a slow process. They go on the process of going through an extensive branding process here in the US, um, which I think is going to be a little bit more consumer friendly for them. Still like what we're doing. Conversations are still viable. There's a new contact that I actually have that was in the process of moving from Israel to Secaucus, New Jersey. So we're kind of like in the process of trying to set up a face-to-face meeting, but I got to let
Okay.
him get settled first. So slow, but it's still there. Sinclair, haven't heard from formally in the form of a conversation in a couple of weeks, but I'm not sure if this is good or bad. But I've been trading email correspondence with them. They actually asked if there was some type of letter of opinion that we had on Statement Games that just outlined the legality of our business, which we
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
So we sent that over. Bit of a weird request, but I guess better than no request, kind of like a roll. So
Yeah.
we'll see kind of like what happens with that. Rogers is still pretty much a really good, viable kind of like opportunity. They really like what Statement Games is doing. They like the game, they like the product, just like the zone. They're just in a process in where they have to announce a formal sports betting partnership first before
Yeah.
they can start taking a look at what they call, I guess, sub free to play, opportunities that would drive people into real money gaming. I haven't seen any announcements yet. My gut feeling is that they will be announcing a deal with FanDuel. That's just my
Okay.
opinion from what I've been hearing and chatting about from I guess my sources of contacts within my pipeline. And
Mhm.
the Philadelphia Phillies is still kind of like there. There has been no formal decision that's actually been made yet, but no immediate questions on the outline of the proposal that we actually gave to them. Of course, they're pretty kind of like busy with their season. I don't really expect any decision to take place soon with them. But then again,
Yeah.
it's not a no. So that's the full rundown on hype.
Nice, nice. So it seems like the hype program is kind of split into two things from what I gather. You've got your pitches, your pilots kind of going on, but it seems like there's also the chance of different investors that might reach out and just give you money. Is that kind of what I'm hearing as far as you were saying that could be coming in the next week or so?
I mean, I wouldn't call it giving us money. Of course, we're gonna have to give up
Well,
some type of
investing.
equity or something like that
Yeah.
for their dollars. But look, I mean, it's accelerated program, and they're interested in helping the business progress. So as a startup here, there's a
Mhm.
couple of things that where I mean, I guess I can't speak with everybody, but in terms of where we're at as a company, we need white label clients, and we're on a great path to fulfill that.
Mhm.
Of course, it would actually be great to get like one or two what we really call bell cow customers, something
Mhm.
that we can really point to that's going to be, let's call press release worthy.
Sure. Yeah.
Not to say that the other deals aren't worthy of making an announcement, but there's just a big difference between working with a mid-sized company and hey, we just locked up a deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. It's just
Sure.
the nature of the beast. And then of course we need to as we progress, and it's always almost like what comes first, the chicken or the egg here. We need to scale the business, so we need help. We need help in the form of employees, project managers, things like that, sales kind of like efforts. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a combination of two. But I guess if we spoke with our mentors and we needed legal help or help in areas of defining what the business plan or the business model would be, they would be able to assist. And we've had all those conversations with Hype. It's just that, where our most immediate or pressing needs are at this time is where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So you brought up your update on ESL, but you've had kind of some words about them in the past. Do you still have a bone to pick with ESL?
Not
What's
really.
the
I mean, I understand like where they're coming from. Um, it's just, I mean, I guess this is more for like entertainment purposes and things like that. But I mean, look, when you're kind of like told no, you use it as an opportunity to obviously capture feedback. Like, what am I doing wrong? And hopefully, they're kind of like willing to offer that kind of like candid feedback, which is great, which they kind of like did. And then just from a business one-on-one perspective, utilize that feedback to throw the ball back over them in an effort to kick the door kind of back open.
yeah,
So, for example, like I knew where the holes were. I was like, listen, you guys understand kind of what you're doing here, but you know what, we need something that's a little bit more esports ready. If you would have actually just said that, totally get
yeah,
it, like I understand. It's not like we're really doing a lot of esports tournaments or progressing with pilot or white label solutions specifically towards esports. But he kind of like made some type of comment in his follow up to the effect of, we were disappointed in the fact that your team wasn't led by anybody that was very tech savvy. So it was just like, okay, well, and
mhm,
then, like not for nothing, I've developed technology. Technology is patented. And although I'm not the person cutting the code, here's the bio of Kishore
yeah,
Kochi, who is our partner and CEO of Intellect Faces, and has been part of every single major development effort of Statement Games since the company's inception. Because I'm not technical, that was reason enough for you to pass on the Statement Games kind of like an opportunity. I mean, it
hmm,
just didn't sit well with me. It didn't kind of make sense. So I went back at it. I mean, I didn't
yeah,
get like a response or anything like that too, but it was tactful. It was, look, we're a technology company. To say we're not
yeah,
led by a tech person just doesn't make any sense. And I asked for clarification, kind of on it. But we're in conversations to discuss what your potential needs are. At that point in the conversation, I didn't feel that there was a need to pull in tech resources to
yeah,
address demos of what the product is and how it could potentially work for it. So my
yeah.
point is like, and that stuff was kind of like, pulled out and what you want to call like, I guess, a little outline or proposal that we kind of like, had. So when you're taking a look at the outline, then we're going, step by step on what we want to do. And here are the bios of the team that's going to actually do it for you. It was just a little weird as to why that question came up. And I now start the question on whether you really gave my proposal any consideration at all. Because if you looked at it and you looked at it for more than 5 seconds, to walk away with the notion that you're disappointed because we don't have any type of technical person leading the charge here, to me, this just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, haven't you been in like technology business for quite some time? Like
I've been
you
in technology.
integrated,
I'm not a coder. Like I don't
yeah,
code. So, but
but
in
you do
terms
the
of
sales
understanding
and
and
the
taking product requirements and
yeah,
communicating those requirements back to a development team, and then working with the development team to come up with a strategy on how those requirements are actually going to be met, and communicating to them, back over to the client. I mean, yeah, I've been doing that for close to like 20 years.
yeah,
But am I physically the one who is going to be doing the coding for the particular project? If you'd like to meet those people, I'm more than happy to bring them on. And if you want to, dive into a technical conversation, we'll go ahead and do it. If they would have said, hey, you know what, here are your ideas, I like it, let's kind of move forward with it. I would have had some technical questions that I would need to ask them, just in terms of how the systems are set up, things like that, in which I would have brought, technical resources onto the call. But for the stage that we were at, I don't know, to bring on somebody at a CTO level just didn't make any sense. And I've never
that's just kind of a weird
that
comment
type
to
of,
me.
yeah, I've never encountered that type of problem at all. And then also, like, I can care less if what you are disappointed in or at. That doesn't fucking kind of like concern me. In fact, I can kind of care less. In fact, what you're disappointed is actually none of my business. So to communicate that I'm disappointed as if I wronged you in some particular way, and I'm sure I'm just misreading into it, was just kind of like the issue that I actually had. And hey, look, you know what? You come across people in whatever business that you're actually in, and especially when you're dealing with somebody at that type of a level, like a Phillies or an ESL, you're going to run into people in which you just gotta, keep your cards a little bit closer to your chest. But in the same breath, here, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have the right to express your opinion, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you no longer have a voice. So at that particular point, I felt that it was important for me to clarify the strength of Statement Games from a technology perspective, and I did.
Yeah, no, that's interesting comment. I mean, I guess they were looking for you to be a Mark Zuckerberg, a Jack Dempsey, something along the lines of, I don't know, like, but everyone has their own strengths. Like, if you're good at business technology and running a business and all that kind of stuff, like, who cares if you can code? Like, that's why you hire coders and developers.
I'm also going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend that I'm somebody that I'm not. I don't know how to code. I'm sorry. I don't understand Java languages. I can talk about Angular, things like that at a high level here, but it's really just to make sure that I understand what the key buzzwords or what the key foundation of these structures kind of are. But I'm not the person who actually does it. Nor do I claim to be. That doesn't mean that my company doesn't have technology.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay. You're back in the saddle with Stadia Ventures. What's going on there? Anything new? How is that progressing, and what can people expect?
I actually got like a formal one-on-one call later with them today. I guess I'll kind of report on those findings next week. But we got the notification. We've gone through some preliminary application processes, some preliminary communications, like back and forth. Of course, they receive a number of applications on a per cohort basis, but we got a formal notification from them. We're officially back in their top 20.
Nice.
So we are one of 20 companies that are vying for a top 5 spot for their full cohort. The next step is, again, to see if we could get dwindled down and make it into that top 10 list. So I should probably have, I mean, if that conversation is happening, if I remember correctly, the conversation, if I have the conversation with them today, I would not be surprised if we get some type of notification prior to the close of this weekend on whether we've advanced into the top 10. Wow. So we'll see. And then I believe if they're on schedule, I believe they'll make some type of final decision on who progresses with their top 5. Maybe the first week of August.
Okay.
I think there's like some demo days and presentations and things like that you present to. I believe the schedule for that is the 27th of July, which means that their final decision making process is kind of like around the first or second week of August. And then the cohort starts in September, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty quick timeline. Considering you kind of just got back into it, so Good stuff. Yeah. Uh, so, what about a quick review on the differences between Stadia and Hype? Like, what do you see, especially going through Stadia for the second time, that are the key, um, you know, differences in the two programs?
I mean, from what I can actually see, um, I would, and I think they would actually agree with me. I would say that Hype is very good at helping you to get your foot in the door with some top pilot partners, potential pilot partners. Very good in areas of business development, identifying opportunities for you and then helping you to kind of like progress with some of those opportunities.
Hmm.
Where with Stadia, I think they have similar strengths. However, if you get accepted into the Stadia program, I can't think of, and I have not actually seen an organization that has gone through that program and not got funded or not get not get some type of uh, funding in the form of either seed or
Hmm.
some type of venture capital.
Gotcha. So, being successful in Stadia might be a very, uh, it might solve some of the problems of capital and investor stuff that you've been looking to solve here, whereas Hype is a lot more trying to create pilots and utilize those pilots to then solve the capital problems.
But the stadium's a little bit more established, so Hype is newer. Keep
Yeah.
in mind that this is literally like the second vertical that Hype has kind of like gone through.
Okay.
So I mean, if you want to call it kind of like a year two, so we'll kind of like see. We'll have to kind of see what happens. But I think their
Sure.
strength is more business development, helping you open doors and things
Yeah.
like that.
Sure. So, lastly, before we uh, wrap up here, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, the progress with the NBA automation. Do you want to go into that a little bit more? What's give us the details. What's going on there?
Well, basically, kind of everything is kind of like done. The way that things kind of like work is that developers they code, and of course, we were making just some bigger architectural changes to make the statement game system a little bit more stable. Kind of like addressing some of the root causes that we're experiencing back in kind of like February. So nothing like that has come up, but we're tying that in with the NBA automation. So when everything is being put together, developers, and I guess this would make sense to you as well,
Yeah.
they first kind of start out by coding and developing within a local machine, right? And they make sure that everything
Hmm.
is kind of like working, everything is up to speed. So from that standpoint, all the things that we've done from an architectural standpoint, and then also from a NBA automation perspective, has been completed locally. So, but when the
Hmm.
developers have taken those local efforts and those new updates and migrated them over to a QA environment, some bugs were kind of like popping up and things like that. It's almost like imagine you're trying to utilize your Outlook
Hmm.
Express email thing here on an Apple device. There just might be some little configurations that you need to do to make sure that that kind of like an environment is compatible with the one that you've
All right.
developed kind of like locally. So there's things like that that's taking place. Like I said, it should only take like another day or so, but that's what we're working on. But from
Hmm.
a development perspective, everything is done. Now it's just QA testing, making sure that what we've actually done is completed is working in as close to a live environment as we possibly can before moving it to a live environment.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense. That's cool. And so you're thinking that the live environment might launch by the end of the week, next
I
week?
hope
What?
so. I
Yeah,
hope so. Yeah.
gotcha. Awesome. Well, and I said we would get out of here on that one question, but I do have to ask, since you have a track record now, are you being nice to the interns?
I'm trying. We got some
Yeah.
new ones starting right after the 4th of July
Oh,
holiday.
there you
So
go.
let's leave that as a to be determined type of an answer.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Well, for everyone out there, make sure you're following on all social medias at Statement Games. Make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, Statement Games Inc., as well as playing the game on desktop, statementgames.com, or your mobile device. Marc, we've strung together 3 weeks in a row now, so it looks like we might be on a roll. But yeah, until next week, and possibly we might get a Making Picks episode at the end of this week on Friday, possibly. So until then, Marc.
All right. Keep you posted.